To our tip of the week. Today I'm going to be talking about the characteristics of a healthy relationship. And I know that this is fairly subjective because what works for one person may not work for another. But based on my understanding and some really good research that's out there, there's certainly some things that work well in relationship that we should do, and other things that actually don't work very well that we should stop doing. So I had a client asked me the other day, like, I really want to get clear about the characteristics of a healthy relationship, and it is something that I talk about in the work that I do. It's foundational, in fact, in the work that I do, that we create the conditions for healthy relationship, and that we demonstrate certain behaviors towards one another in order that our relationships be healthy and sustainable. The benefits of healthy relationship, constructive communication, and the ability to have conflict in a healthy, constructive manner are well researched as well. It actually affects our physical health. So where we have healthy relationships with high levels of positivity, we have improved heart rate, heart functioning, lower blood levels of blood, our blood pressure levels are lower, our immune functioning's higher, and our emotional intelligence and our ability to self-regulate during stressful periods and times improves as well. And this all applies to children. I think that I always talk about the children because I think as adults, it's a big motivator for us when we look at the future generations and look at what's at stake in regards to our future. So in regards to healthy relationships, there's certain things that I look for and that I talk about in all of the work I do. And the first thing is safety. I always ask myself, what level of safety exists in the relationship? How free do folks feel with each other to bring up difficult issues? People are usually concerned that if they become vulnerable and they say something that is risky to another person, their main concern is this information going to be used against me at a later date? So how committed are folks in the relationship? How much trust is there? Will people maintain confidentiality with each other? And is there a freedom to say what needs to be said and to take healthy risks with each other? So one of the characteristics of a healthy relationship is a feel of safety and a sense of freedom to find each other's voice together. So that's the first thing. One of the other things that's really important is a willingness to resolve conflict without blame. And for those of you who've worked with me, you'll know that part of the agreements that we establish at the beginning of any work that we do includes that. Is there a willingness to resolve conflict without blame? What that really means is, are both people willing to work through conflicts? Are both or all parties in touch with why it's important to work through conflict together? And are both or all parties willing to work through conflict without blame? That means self-blame or blame towards another person. If there's blame present, we cannot resolve our conflicts, and it keeps us stuck in a perpetual cycle of conflict and not being able to move forward. So everyone involved has to be willing to say, okay, we're going to work on conflicts and we are not going to use blame on each other or on ourselves. So that's the second thing. Third characteristic is, and this comes from the research of Dr. John Gottman, is there a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative acts in the relationship? So if you think about relationships like a bank account, we need to be making 5 deposits for every 1 withdrawal that we make. So positive acts in a relationship increase positivity or a feeling of resonance in the relationship. So I would ask you to sort of look at the relationship and say, am I feeling a sense of resonance most of the time, or am I feeling a sense of dissonance? And positive acts can include eye contact, a touch, a kind word, extending oneself, empathy, willingness to really listen to someone, asking questions to create understanding, a willingness to be influenced. All of these things build positivity. So any act that increases the feelings of resonance in the relationship. So that's the third thing that I look for in terms of characteristics of a healthy relationship. The next one is the ability or willingness to increase positive acts during conflict. So as you know, when you're in a conflict with someone, it tends to escalate, and it can get worse and worse and worse as we get entrenched into the conflict, and it can feel as if it's going to explode at some point. So if you're able to increase positive acts during conflict, and that would also include acknowledging somebody, a simple acknowledgement, a willingness to listen, a willingness to be influenced, really validating each other, slowing down, accepting responsibility for our part, and not becoming defensive or going to toxins. Those or positive acts during conflict. The other thing to note as a positive acts during conflict are softening the way we are with each other. So softening our tone, our facial expression, and our body language towards each other is very, very important. The next thing is minimizing the use of toxins. So for those of you who've been listening to the tips, I reviewed toxins at some point, and toxins are blame, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And there's something that we all do, but the health of our relationship is really dependent on how much of those things are occurring or how often we're using toxins. We really want to reduce toxins, and the best way to reduce them is to talk about them, make each other aware of them, and then actually come up with a plan for not using them. Because once blame is usually the first toxin to show up, and then the other three follow closely behind. It triggers a response, and then we get entrenched in them, and the issue gets clouded, and we're not getting anywhere. We just escalate the conflict until things get to the point where we can't talk anymore at all, or it becomes even violent. So minimizing the use of toxins is very, very important. And the last thing is rank awareness. And rank awareness is, it's not something I've talked about in the tips before, but it is a large part of the work that I do. Rank awareness is just understanding and acknowledging where we have power, and power being contextual. So everyone has power in one context or another. And if we can develop an awareness of of our power and the way that affects other folks, and we can use it consciously, what happens is we create a sense of safety for people. People open up and they're able to give us feedback, and that creates dialogue. If we are not aware of our rank, or we're not willing to acknowledge and work consciously with our rank, what can happen is we marginalize people in our life, and they no longer feel safe to talk to us, and communication breaks down, and it leads to conflict and even violence in some cases. So rank awareness is really important. And I think what I'll do is next week on the tip, I will talk more about rank to create some understanding about this subject. It seems to be a really hot topic in the work that I do. It generates a lot of questions, and people often grapple with it. We're often more in touch with where other people have rank than where we have it. And in my work, I'm really inviting folks to look at where you have it and how you can use it to improve your relationships. So just notice these things, and if you want to work on improving the health of your relationships, you can pick one or all of these things and just focus on working on improving the situation, and asking yourself those questions, and asking yourself, how can I increase positivity in a particular relationship, or where do I want to be more willing to be influenced, and how would I demonstrate that? Just remember that when we change our behavior to other people, people change their behavior towards us, and we only really have control over ourselves. And a great sense of empowerment comes with the acceptance of that, and the willingness to work on ourselves in relationship to the world around us. So enjoy and have